Welcome back to Fade to Chat. I'm Marty Gensius with Cindy Rotz co-hosting. And this week we do a movie that I'm really curious what your take is on this, because you thought you were choosing this as a favor for me, and because you said, okay, I'm going to give you a musical. And it is High Society from 1956. It includes Bing Crosby, Grace Kelly, and Frank Sinatra as the three main leads in the movie. And it is essentially a musical version of the Philadelphia Story, a movie that was made, I don't know, maybe it was 1939. Well, that's when the play was done. The Philadelphia Story got turned into a movie with Cary Grant and James Stewart and Katharine Hepburn. And it was more of a comedy, serious, crazy, chaotic kind of film. And this attempted to do it around music. So what's your take on this one, Cindy?
You're right. I was trying to do you a favor choosing a musical. I don't know if I did or not. It's interesting. I had seen the Philadelphia Story first,
Right.
and then I watched this. I wish I had done it in the opposite order because I
Okay.
found myself comparing and contrasting this movie constantly with the Philadelphia Story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Two very
Yeah.
different. I enjoyed the music, especially. I did enjoy the music, and we'll talk more about that later. Um, but they are two very different movies, but I wish I had watched High Society first.
I don't know. I think if I had watched High Society first and was told that it was based on the Philadelphia Story, I wouldn't have watched the Philadelphia Story.
Hmm.
It was a different. What music in particular did you enjoy?
Okay, I particularly enjoyed, well, I love Bing Crosby's voice. I don't really love Frank Sinatra.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a Sinatra fan, but Bing Crosby I enjoyed. The time when he was introducing Louis Armstrong's band members,
Yeah.
and it was called Now You Have Jazz. That probably was my favorite.
Yeah. I think that was one of my favorite uses of Bing Crosby in the movie. I
Hmm.
am not a big Bing Crosby fan, and the songs in the movie are True Love, which was the hit, which was
Hmm.
weird because I'm not even sure. You might have to correct me on this. I'm not even sure Grace Kelly sang that portion of the film. It was overdubbed. Did she?
They were originally going to dub her, but she did sing it.
Okay, because
She did.
they were credited with the song. Both of them were credited with the song
Hmm.
as it went on to become a hit.
Hmm.
I thought Celeste Holm did a wonderful job with Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. There's a lot of
Right.
affectations in there. There's a lot of accents that she does. There's a lot of, it really felt like musical comedy stage for that piece,
Mm-hmm.
although that piece went on too long. But
Yeah, agree with that.
so that there were some interesting, and then the duet that essentially I think they wrote the piece so Bing Crosby and Frank
Hmm.
Sinatra would sing together around a bar. If you watch the blocking on that, it was crazy because Bing Crosby put the bottle away. He had a glass
Hmm.
that was empty, and then he came. Then Frank Sinatra came around, opened it up, and poured him a glass of champagne. it was just kind of weird blocking and weird
Yeah.
stuff to do during that thing. And there was kind of, a little bit of dancing and a little bit of stuff. Then there's that side comment, oh, must be one of the young ones. He sings during the song, referring to Frank Sinatra.
Caught that.
I think Frank Sinatra was like 36 years of age in this film.
He was 40.
He was 40. Okay.
I wrote it down. He was 40.
And Celeste Holmes was 36, something like that. She was younger or around his age, maybe 38.
Yeah, I'm not sure about her.
I went through and I looked at birth dates because, and I didn't write them down. Because one thing that really creeped me out about this film was the tremendous age difference between Grace Kelly and Bing Crosby. Bing Crosby was like 56 during this film, and Grace Kelly was 24 or 26. And
she was 26 and he was 53.
53. I just got creeped out about that. And there's one scene on the boat where, for some reason, I've watched it twice. And the second time this morning before we did the show, where she's kind of caressing his hand. And it's like,
I know.
Grandpa, it is just, he creeps me out in this film. And, my thing about Bing Crosby is kind of his history that was written by his sons or one of his sons. Gary Crosby kind of said he was pretty dogmatic and quite abusive as a dad. So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So at least that was claims of one of the sons, and other sons would not comment on it or did not seem to comment on it. But yeah, Bing Crosby just is not my thing. His voice, yeah. Now here, this film was done 2 years after White Christmas. And for me, those are two dramatically different musicals. In I would say my preference would be for White Christmas because of the popularity of the songs, Irving Berlin, and versus Cole Porter in this case, in the songs that were written for this musical. And it seemed like the songs fit very well in the plot line. The plot line for this seemed like it was just dragging me to the next song. So, when you talk about, I don't understand how people can just start singing in musicals. And that came from you, and reluctantly wanting to try on, I think, have you How to Succeed in Business. Before that, you're like, I just don't see how that happens. This was a case where I don't get it. I don't think the storyline supported the music, and the music was strong enough in some ways to impact the story, to change the storyline. Some things different in this from Philadelphia Story. At least my recollection is the Tracy Lord character makes a comment to Frank Sinatra. Grace Kelly makes a comment to Frank Sinatra. Have you written anything besides newspaper? And he was like, oh, no, I really just kind of stick to this. In Philadelphia Story, Katharine Hepburn, I think, actually goes to the library to take out one of the books that Mike Connor had written, and demonstrates that he's a deeper person, kind of stuck in a different kind of job for him. Of course, the scene that I mentioned that Lydia, the encyclopedia, we talked about it, I think, at the end of the last show, but.
Right.
I was even more disappointed when I watched it a second and third time with them choosing a song buried with which was already in it. I didn't find that whole scene lost the humor that was in the Philadelphia Story when
I was
the
looking forward to
Carolyn,
that.
yeah, Carolyn breaks out in Liddy Oh Liddy, an old Marx Brothers song,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a steam sealer for that. This was like, oh, I'm going to play the piano and I can sing at the same
Yeah,
time.
that was painful.
Yeah.
That
So
was painful. Yeah, I was disappointed too because you sent me an email saying, "Oh, sorry, I was wrong. It's not in this movie." I'm like, "Oh, darn," because I had
yeah,
watched that clip and it was so funny.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I thought it might have been in this. I was hoping it was in High Society, but it wasn't. She
Hmm.
instead chose a portion of a song from that was part. And oh, this is cruel. For me, I was saved 5 minutes of the film by having an overture. I mean, I was like, okay, this is an
Oh
hour
my
and 50
gosh,
minute.
yes.
It was an hour and 50-minute film. It's the
Yeah,
overture. How far ahead are they going to get? Well, it was 5 minutes of an overture. And I was
it
like,
was. I fast forwarded through it. It was just blank screen. I thought, "What is this?" I just hit the button and went
well,
through it.
I think it's supposed to, if you're watching this film, and this was done in VistaVision, I think, which was a more wider screen view
Hmm.
of the film than they had in previous, where it was more not so extensive, not so widescreen, and then so we'll see. We'll run into films that are done in different formats that became
Hmm.
popular during a few years of movie making as an alternative to pull people into theaters. When I was a kid, a young kid, saw some of those films that were so widescreen and massive and in the theater, and that was pretty cool. And now we pretty much do the 9 by 16, at least things that are streamed. But this was VistaVision, and I'm uncertain about the dimensions on that. Uh, yeah, shot in VistaVision and Technicolor, but it doesn't give me the specs on it. So yeah, um, I'm trying to figure out my favorite parts.
Did you have any? Yeah, I struggled with that too.
I did like the way he introduced the band, but I
Yes.
do not equate at all Bing Crosby with jazz.
Mm-hmm.
It's not his format, and I don't think
Mm-mm.
he ever did that format. But in here, he's supposed to be like a jazz writer. So yeah, I enjoyed watching the different players be introduced and the lyrics that were associated with that introduction in that song about the jazz as he's trying to explain it to the socialites what jazz is about. I enjoyed Celeste Holm. We had seen her in All About Eve. And in this movie, she takes on more of a musical comedy staging than I think anybody else, except for maybe the scene between Crosby and Sinatra. However, that was kind of just hamming for the cameras, whereas I think she kind of falls into character pretty cool. The
I
I had the
didn't.
same problem with this film that I had with the Philadelphia Story. It's like, oh, I hate you. Oh, I'm so in love with you. That those
I'm glad to hear
emotional
you
shifts
say
were
that.
like,
Made no sense.
did it make sense back in the 30s and back in the 50s when this was done, when this was originally
I
done?
don't think so. I hope not. And
Or
I,
it
I
was,
didn't like, I didn't even
yeah,
understand Frank Sinatra. Like one
yeah,
minute he almost hated um, Grace Kelly, thought
Tracy,
she was
yeah,
such a snob, and then she took him for a drive and they ended up at, was that Uncle Willie's house where they had the big bar, bookcase
Yeah.
opened up and the bar came out. Then he sang her
Yeah.
that wonderful song about, she's so wonderful, and he tried to kiss her. I thought, what in the world just happened here? He
Yeah.
went from one extreme to the other.
Yeah.
I didn't it didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I agree with you about the Frank Sinatra scene with Grace Kelly where they're suddenly falling in love. The same thing happened in Philadelphia Story with Jimmy
Hmm.
Stewart and
Jimmy
with
Stewart.
Katharine Hepburn. And I'm like, what is this? Oh, I can't live without you. I can't. You just went for a swim and you're a little bit drunk, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I just don't, I did not get that. Again, overdone. Now, could it have been written in the 30s in 1939? So you're thinking the end of the Depression, or you're thinking Depression
Depression.
era. And it's written sort of to satirize the rich and how fickle they are. And so it's overdone that way, but it doesn't translate well in terms of
No.
because you're not watching this as a satire and you're
Mm-mm.
not watching it within the context of the Depression. So I
No.
don't know.
And his relationship with Liz didn't make sense to me either.
Mm.
He didn't pay any attention to her, and then at the very end, he's calling Grace Kelly darling, and then 2 seconds later, he's with Liz and they're kissing and acting like they're going to get married.
Yeah,
They just
it's.
kept flipping back and forth.
I think the Philadelphia Story does a better job of laying that out. So at the end,
Okay.
I think in the Philadelphia Story, they stand up for both of the
I thought so too.
characters, and it implies it's going to be like a double wedding, or there's going to be
Yeah.
another wedding happen. But I think they set
Yeah.
that up better in the Philadelphia Story than they
Mm.
do in this movie. But again, musical magic happens out of the blue.
Well,
Um,
doesn't Jimmy Stewart offer to marry Katharine Hepburn in the Philadelphia Story at the end?
yeah, but instead, Cary Grant, um,
Right, she goes back to Cary
back
Grant,
to
but
Cary
he
Grant,
offers to marry her so she won't be embarrassed.
embarrassed, yeah. And
Yeah.
and she makes it clear to him that no, there's someone else that would be disappointed, that would be hurt
Hmm.
by this, and he puts it together in that. So
Yeah. Yeah, and he also was just too old. There was no there was no chemistry there either. He was 40, she was 26. And the only time we ever saw Bing Crosby and Grace Kelly kiss, like you said, was on the boat. That scene, that was kind of cringy. She's
yeah,
caressing his face and he's singing, and they did kiss, but there was no
yeah.
connection,
Well,
no emotion.
it it was one of those I have to smash my face against my old uncle kind of kisses. It wasn't a romantic, lingering
Right,
open
right.
mouth kiss. It was like,
No.
he smells like cigars and has probably drank this morning before the set. Uh, yeah, it was,
Yeah.
and it certainly wasn't. The 56 was certainly not a time where they would get too uptight about that. But
Hmm.
in terms of Hays Code and things like that,
Right.
because they were married on the boat. I mean, that was a
Yeah.
flashback.
It was their honeymoon.
Yeah, so yeah, but
Yeah,
it
it was
it
weird.
was it was cringeworthy with that.
Hmm.
Um, I have problems with how Louis Armstrong was depicted in this. He's supposed to be kind of the narrator of the story, but he comes across as being Bing Crosby's favorite black friend. I mean, there's, and
Yeah.
he kind of is portrayed with that whole stereotype that we think during that period of time African Americans were kind of put into that kind of position. So you have to take it within the context of the movie and all of that. But Louis Armstrong is such, and the jazz that he did over the years was such incredible to kind of be reduced to a caricature, which happened, in this movie and in other TV appearances and stuff like that. He wasn't always that big, toothy, smiling guy. He was just a good musician. But instead, we get this kind of caricature of who he is. So, and frankly, you didn't get much to see him do much with his jazz skills in this.
No.
He had to do at the end, he had to do a Here Comes the Bride kind of jazz riff. But there was nothing that was challenging to the listener in here. Even the introduction of the band was pretty much kind of standard fare.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I wondered if you went down the path of looking up the mansion. I read
Yeah,
in
I
trivia
did.
at the mansion. Did you?
Yeah, I did. And to locate it.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay.
Talk.
All right. It's in the opening of the film they showed the mansion, and it was the Kirkby Mansion on
Yeah.
Bel Air Road, and they added an extra floor just by matte painting, I read. But it was the same one they used in the Beverly Hillbillies, which I didn't
Yeah.
realize because I watched that.
Well, it must have survived,
Yeah.
another 10 years or more in order
Yeah,
to, well,
because
10 years to make it into the
what
Beverly
was the year of
Hillbillies.
that?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
1962 to 1971. Beverly Hillbillies.
This is, I'm reading along this. This was, and I noticed this, Grace Kelly's last film.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, man, what a dog to go out on of a movie,
Yeah.
considering her
Yeah.
career. She was, she was already engaged to Princess Rainier of Monaco, and she wore her actual Cartier engagement
She
ring
sure
throughout the
did.
filming.
Sure did. I noticed
A
that.
couple of times there's that one scene where she rubs it and looks at it when she's
Mm-hmm.
lying on the couch.
Mm-hmm. 10.5 carats. Yeah. I would say this was my least favorite movie I've ever seen her in because
Yeah.
I like her a lot, but it just didn't suit her. It felt forced to me.
Yeah. And I, when I watched it this second time, I said to myself, is that her real voice? Not that they were dubbing her,
Mm,
but is that
no.
how she talks? And then I realized, no, she's doing a bad imitation of Katharine Hepburn in the Philadelphia
Yep.
Story.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She used, and it felt forced in terms of her
Yeah.
vocal stuff that was going on. And some of her
Yeah.
facial stuff, her swings and mood were, oh, I'm so glad you came, Mother, to my night before the wedding party. What do you think? Mom's not going to show up for that? Um, and it's just they're, oof,
Yeah.
what
And
a career ender. What?
her fiance, the George
Yeah,
Kittredge, whatever his name was. I thought he really had quite a minor part in this whole film.
yeah.
And maybe because it wasn't Cary Grant, but I really he didn't have a whole lot
No,
to do in this film.
Cary Grant was Bing Crosby in this film, or Bing Crosby was Cary Grant in this film, the ex-husband who shows up on the scene.
Oh, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I'm wrong.
And
Yes.
the fiance also has a minor role in the Philadelphia Story. It's kind of a stuffed shirt
That was, yeah,
and the butt of a bunch of jokes from
you're right.
folks. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I had a couple favorite lines.
Okay, let's go to them.
Okay. It was Uncle Willie, the day after the big engagement party where everybody was
Hmm.
hungover and they arrive at the wedding. Who has a wedding in the morning, too? I thought that was dumb. After a big party the night before. Um, he's getting out of the car that, drove him to the house, and there's this bird up in a tree that's, singing. And he looks up at the bird. He says, "Shut up, you fool."
Yeah,
I don't know
and
if
I
you
saw
remember.
that, and it was
He was so
obviously a
hungover.
stock shot. It was a stock shot. It wasn't something they filmed for the movie, but they found film of
Yeah.
a bird in a tree and put it in that point because
Yeah. Bird was
it
making too much noise.
looked really fake when they swapped
Hmm.
from his
Hmm.
scene to another. I did notice something about the set that bugged the hell out of me
What's that?
because it was shot. Most of the outdoor scenes were shot in studio,
Okay.
and a couple of things. Why does her father wear sunglasses? He's the only one wearing sunglasses when he first arrives on the scene, and he has sunglasses
Hmm.
on, and he's arguing with her, and he takes the sunglasses off, but he puts them back on again. And it just is weird because his eyes are kind of covered. I'm like, is there some deeper metaphor in this? I didn't
I
get
didn't
it. I
notice
didn't
that.
get why. He didn't have a black eye or anything like that. It was just he
Yeah.
wore sunglasses through that pool scene. Then the other thing was I looked at shadows in that pool scene. And you would think, well, they're outside. The sun is only in one place. But if you look at the
Hmm.
shadows cast like by plants and by statues, they're in all different directions.
That
So,
makes no sense.
yeah, well, it doesn't if it's supposed to represent an outdoor scene, with the sun in one place. So, yeah, it looked really studio, sort of
Okay.
TV shot
Mm.
studio version because the lighting was all over the place, and I just did not get why that guy had his sunglasses on for that whole scene.
Hmm.
There was no explanation and there was no context for it because if it's sunny outside, then other people
Other people, yeah, exactly.
would be
Yeah.
wearing that. So I saw that kind of bothered me with
And
it.
Uncle
Silly
Willie
things,
had like a, mm,
yeah, just silly
he
things
had
that
a big,
bother me about films when I see it. Yeah.
no, that's okay. He had a big top hat on, I think, when he arrived at the wedding.
Yeah.
And Dexter said to him, "You look like a tree full of owls." I thought, yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
He was a tall guy, and then to put a top hat on him,
Uh-huh.
I kind of appreciated that that not just the top hat, but his pure height, and
Hmm.
at least he was honest with his cringiness, as he's chasing around Liz,
Liz, yeah, yeah.
yeah, with that, and asks Frank Sinatra, "Did you play footsie with me at dinner?" And he said, "Nope." And he said, "Oh well, Uncle Willie must have a good reach."
Yeah, yeah.
I'll tell you, I tried to find a line, and I think when I watched it the second time, there were a couple of lines I could say. I watched the
Hmm.
third time, and nothing really stood out except uh, Bing Crosby had some side remarks as uh, her fiance is trying to decide whether they can go on with the wedding or not. And he makes a comment like,
Hmm.
well, we're all prone to indiscretions, I guess. And, we have to be bigger people than that. Or we're all prone to indiscretions, I guess. Pause. And then something like, we all need to be bigger people than that. And Bing Crosby's comment was he shouldn't have said that last part, or he should have stopped at that point. That got a chuckle out of me. But yeah.
So now I'm going to have to go back and watch the Philadelphia Story again.
Well, don't. We'll save it and watch it in a few weeks.
Oh, okay.
Maybe. Maybe. Who knows? Maybe now that you want to see it, I'll hold off on it.
Thanks. That's okay.
I think that for me, the character that I watched probably the second or third time through watching this was I watched Celeste Holm, and I appreciated her, particularly with her duet with Frank Sinatra, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I think this was meant to be a box office. How did it do at box office?
I thought it
budget was $2.8 million. Film earned $8.2 million at the box office.
Right.
Cole Porter got paid $250,000 for the first original film score in 8 years. So it didn't do bad at the box office. Elizabeth Taylor was the original choice for the role of Tracy Samantha Lord, but was unavailable.
Saw that. That would have been interesting.
Yeah. She could have done the range and been more convincing.
I agree.
With the range of snootiness than Grace Kelly could have been.
Yeah. Lydia Reed, the little girl who played Calhern, I read that she's still surviving as of 2026. What else was she in? Because I liked her.
Well,
she had such a minor part, but
I actually like the character in the Philadelphia Story. I like the actress better in that. But she's known for High Society, The Vampire, Matinee Theater, and Craft Theater. She was been last in The Real McCoys. She was in 123 episodes of The Real McCoys from 1957 to 1962. So she was a regular. She played Hassie in that. She's still surviving, but she has only 24 credits to her name now. 24, one of those being The Real McCoy with 123 episodes. But yeah, she's still alive. At least there's no indication of her passing. She was born in 1944. So that would put her at 82, if I'm doing the math correct. 44. No. That would put her at, 60 and 22, so 82. I don't know if there's anyone else worth commenting about in this movie. Because it has a relatively small cast and based on play. Do you have anything final you'd like to say, or?
If I had to choose, I'm going to say I like the Philadelphia Story better.
Okay, well, I feel like a certain
another time.
There's a certain victory that I feel in that. Here's one thing I wanted to ask you about the Philadelphia Story. We'll talk about it. We should talk about it another time. You remember how the Philadelphia Story opens?
Yes.
And so I was wondering what your... Yeah.
That part, I thought, oh my gosh, that no. And we'll talk about that. I won't ruin it, but that
Yeah.
part I hated. That
Yeah,
was
I
not
thought about that this
necessary.
morning,
Mm-mm.
and kind of knowing your context with that, and also knowing the person who perpetrates that is Cary Grant, and your
Exactly.
reverence for Cary Grant.
Yes. It's like, really?
Yeah, yeah. So we'll talk about
Yeah,
it when we
that
cover the
bothered me.
Philadelphia story. So
But I'll forgive him for it. I'll forgive him.
if he comes over
But
and apologizes personally to you,
yeah,
you'll forgive him.
yeah, I'll forgive him, but I didn't like it. Hmm.
Yeah, I get the context of it. I don't want to talk too much about it. I get the context of it for the time. It is shocking, and at the same time, it's like
Hmm.
that's how you start a movie. I mean,
Yeah.
that's one way to get people pulled into what the
Oh,
hell
yeah.
happened.
Yep.
So anyway, what are we doing next time?
Well, it's your choice, and we're doing Maltese Falcon.
Yeah, you set aside a few films that are like, might be too big to take on. And we still have things like Citizen Kane and Casablanca. And these are films that when I was studying this, were revered. And
Hmm.
I think I saw this film in a class in combination with The Big Sleep, which would have been another choice of mine to get into a little bit of film noir. But this is a classic, and you haven't seen it yet, to your remembrance?
Not recently. If I did, it was a very long time ago.
Yeah. I remember writing a paper on this when I was in college, which would have been 76. And the person who taught me made some comment about it, and I had to write a paper on the scene or the shot, the way it's set up. And there is a comment about films at that time that they shot everything at the same level. So all of the movie was shot like you're standing next to them. And you never saw ceilings in films. In this film, I found, and I wrote this in my paper, there were some ceiling shots. There's a scene where God, what's his name? Sidney Greenstreet, who's a big man. They call him the fat man in this. Casper Gutman in this film. And they shoot from sort of the floor up around his
Hmm.
belly, and you can see the ceiling behind him. And you can see backlighting cast on the ceiling. So I wrote that and kind of said, this supposedly wasn't done, but it's quite clearly done here by Houston in the Maltese Falcon. So we'll have some fun with this, I think. It's film noir, and so it's got some. I won't say any more because
Is it
I'm
black and
going to
white
save
or
these.
color?
It's black and white,
Okay. I
as it
thought
as
so.
it should be.
Okay.
Directed by John Huston, starring Humphrey Bogart, Mary Astor, and Gladys George. It's written by John Huston and Dashiell Hammett. So I think it was Huston took Hammett's work and wrote the screenplay for it. But they both have credit on it because Dashiell Hammett created the character of Sam Spade. So next time, Maltese Falcon. I don't think you can go wrong with this film, but we'll see.
Okay.
So that kind of does it for this episode of Fade to Chat, Golden Age Cinema. Thank you, Cindy, for doing this. And it's
Thank you,
fun.
Marty.
It's kind of expanding both of our. I sat through High Society one more time. It'll be a long time before I watch it again.
Me too. Hmm.
And
Me
it's
too.
occasionally, it's occasionally good that we run across these kind of films to talk about. They can't all be amazing, but this is one that's noteworthy, definitely. So you'll run across it in your film historia. You can subscribe to us on YouTube at youtube.com/@fade-to-chat. And you will get the videos of the shows as they come out, and go back and look at some of the archive of the stuff that we've done around different movies. You can contact us at the podtalknetwork@gmail.com, and you can find out about us at thepodtalk.net. That's a website that has connections to this and other podcasts and video streams that I do and ones that I'm on to. So spread the word to other Golden Age cinema lovers, and we'll see you next time.